Alright, so Chris, this is a dismantled engine. This is out of a 50cc 4-stroke, so it's slightly different than yours, but the bottom ends are actually fairly similar on a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke. So here we have the kickstart shaft. The clutch goes here. There's a gear on the end of the crankshaft that drives the clutch. All that has to come off before the outer case can come off. So we're missing an outer case, all the guts that go inside the outer case, the clutch, that gear, water pumps, things like that, and then the clutch covers, the water pump covers, and everything else bolt to that. So we're to the second layer missing. This is the third layer into the engine. This is a engine that I've actually just torn apart and used for spare parts. And once you go to split the cases, you'll have to be naked down to this part. This is the crankshaft. This is the outer crank bearing. Once you get to this part, you'll then pull half of the case off. Okay? Now these bearings over here and these holes and all this stuff is where the transmission usually rides. My transmission is sitting down here in a pile. You can see more of it back here. This is what you do not want to have happen. There's some of our clutch stuff back there, the gear that the crank drives and stuff. Here's the crankshaft, so we can kind of wiggle and pull and shift it out of here. Come on, crankshaft. No, or not. Not sure what's stuck here. This crankshaft actually had the bearing in here go bad, and so this rod is toast, which means that this engine needed the same thing that yours did, which is a new rod pressed in. I really wish I could get this crankshaft out for you, but I just can't. So anyway, when you split the case, the crankshaft should stay on this side. This is the flywheel side, or next to your left foot as you're sitting on the engine. This is the left hand half of the case. The crankshaft should stay in there, and then the tranny should stay in here. It'll be sitting in all these little journals and all these little things. The tranny will just be a big clump of gears sitting here. And when you take this case off, some of those gears may want to come with it. Some of them may want to pop off. Some of them may just want to explode and fall apart. What you want to do is, as you take the case off, is push all those in so that as the case comes off, those stay put. And then once you get it out, you'll want to leave it sitting on the bench like this, at an angle or even on its side, so that those parts stay put. And then you can just leave the transmission in there. You'll need to replace this gasket. The center gasket should come in as part of your gasket kit. Some manufacturers actually want a bond there. Some don't even use a gasket. Some actually just use a gasket material, bonding material. It's usually about $12 a bottle for the stuff they like Honda Bond or the like. So you'll pull your crank out. Obviously it's a bugger because this one's already been out and it doesn't want to come out again. You'll take this crank out, you'll walk down to the KTM dealership, you'll hand it to them. They will break it into 3 pieces, replace the center section that's got the rod, the bearing, and this pin right here is the part that gets pressed together. So that pin, the rod bearing inside here, these 2 washers that are on each side of the rod as it floats, and the rod itself will get replaced. They'll hand it back to you. You'll slide it back in here. You put either a gasket or Honda Bond on it, and then you'll slide this case right back on and get it all put back together. And obviously it's going to be a lot harder than that because you have to line up all these things as well, and they'll be poking out. And then put that sucker back together, and then you're safe. That's the scary part. So I wanted to just kind of point that out to you, that really getting to this part actually honestly isn't as scary as it looks. It looks pretty scary. I was almost this far when I had to replace my kickstart shaft. You pretty much have to get this far into the engine to pull this sucker out. You will be nearly that. Actually, this is This is actually the shift shaft. The kickstart shaft came off with the case. I'm sorry. This is part of the shifting. It won't stick out so far on yours because this is semi-automatic. This actually is an actuator to work on the clutch when you're shifting. Sorry, just didn't want to give you misinformation. But anyway, you'll have all sorts of little gizmos and gadgets. Once you get this put back together, you can breathe safe and sound. That's the hard part. So I wanted to kind of give you a quick little overview of what two cases split apart looks like so that you know what you're up against. Good luck, bud.